Hi everyone, I have a lot of things that I want to try to explain in this video, and I'm not sure where to begin, so I'm just going to try to begin where I left off. And in my last video I was going over this table over here, which I did on the words twine and helix. And the word twine means two or double, as in a double helix, but it also means to weave together or to twist or intertwine. And exactly where you have the word helix, you have the term fine twined linen right in the middle of that. And as I explained in my last video, when I pulled up an image of fine twined linen, I came up with this image over here, which clearly looks like DNA strands. You can see the yarns twisted together in a spiral, just like a DNA strand. And that's exactly where you have the word helix come up in the table, where it talks about fine twined linen. And now I just want to show you what happens when you put in the word bond. You can see that comes up straight up and down, and it's coming up exactly where it says that it may be joined together. And that's where you have the word bond going right through the word helix and through the words twine, which means two, and twined means to intertwine two things together, as in the fine twined linen. So what God was doing when he was describing these things in the temple, he was actually describing microscopic things that no one really knew anything about or would even be able to understand until recent times, until knowledge has increased to where we can understand what these things are. And so I want to talk a little bit more about microscopic things. I have some other examples to show you, some other tables that are just as remarkable as that example. And also want to talk a little bit about colors and the importance of these colors that you see over here, the blue, the purple, and the scarlet, and what I believe the significance of these colors is, and why I believe God's favorite color is this color over here. I want to try to explain that, but first I want to show you a little clip from Natan's testimony. And over here he's saying, well, he's talking about how when he went to heaven, how the angels showed him everything he did, all the good things and all the bad things. And here he's saying, and then you don't understand how much reward you receive for the smallest things you do, really. And so I'll just play it from here. It says the feelings of shame and everything, and then the moment he said something really, really little that I did, a little mitzvah, the littlest thing you do is considered there to be huge, huge. And when they said the littlest mitzvah I did, I felt like, wow, it's so great that I wore the tzitzit that day. It's so great. I did such and such. It's so great, so great. The littlest thing there overturns entire worlds. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, and so I'll just stop over here, but it's really interesting that he used the word overturns entire worlds, the smallest thing that he did, and he's talking about the tzitzit. And I'll just show you what a tzitzit looks like. Okay, you can see these images over here. And I want to talk a little bit more about the tzitzit later. But first I want to show you some more examples of how God was talking about microscopic things. Okay, when you put in the words twine and helix, you only get 3 matches, and all 3 of these matches come up in Exodus 28. But if you put in the words twin and helix, you can actually get, well, at least 1 more match. But if you put in Jesus, twin, and helix, I just want to show you how that comes up. It comes up in Matthew 12, and it's really interesting where the word helix comes up, because in this example it's coming up over here exactly where it's talking about a bruised reed. It says, it's quoting from Isaiah, and it's saying, "A bruised reed shall he not break, and a smoking flax shall he not quench, till he send forth judgment into victory." And so I want to show you what a bruised reed looks like, and a smoking flax. And then I want to talk a little bit more about the reed. But first I just want to show you how twin comes up, because it actually comes up 2 different ways. Okay, this is coming up in the same text in Matthew 12, where it's talking about the bruised reed and the smoking flax. So you can see twin is encoded in there 2 different ways. One's over here, and then the other one was up here, straight up and down. Okay, so now I want to show you what a bruised reed looks like. And I had talked about this before, how a reed is actually a straw, a piece of straw. And so it's hollow on the inside, just like a drinking straw is hollow. And I did a video about the word mote, which is basically the same thing as a reed. And it's this video right here. And I'll just put the link to that video in the description box. And you may want to watch that if you haven't seen it, to understand a little bit more the meaning behind that. But now I want to show you a smoking flax, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the reed later, and I'll also talk about the smoking flax a little more. But I just want to show you the images of what it looks like for now, so you can see how the smoke spirals. Let's see if I can find a good image. I guess this is one of the best images, but you can see how the smoke spirals, similar to a DNA strand, but there's a little bit more to it than just that. But first I want to get back to the mote, because I was wondering if perhaps the DNA strand is actually hollow. And so I pulled up some information, and I came up with this website over here. And I found out that the DNA is in fact hollow when it's in this state right here, where it says selenoid chromatin fiber. And I'll just read you the description over here. It says, each DNA strand wraps around groups of small protein molecules called histones, forming a series of bead-like structures called nucleosomes, connected by the DNA strand as illustrated in Figure 1. Under the microscope, uncondensed chromatin has a beads on a string appearance. The string of nucleosomes, already compacted by a factor of 6, is then coiled into an even denser structure known as a solenoid that compacts the DNA by a factor of 40. The solenoid structure then coils to form a hollow tube. Okay, so now I want to get back to the smoking flax. And so I just want to show you what flax looks like under a microscope, and you can see this website over here. It says microscope images of flax fibers. And so when you look at the flax under a microscope, you see that it also is a hollow tube. Okay, I'll just read this description over here. It says, we took a lot of very beautiful photos. Here are a few highlights. This image shows the tips of two flax cells overlapping. You can see it in the uppermost edge of the large central bundle, just to the right of the less in focus strand that's crossing diagonally in the left-hand corner. These two grayish colored pointy tips are the ends of two fiber cells. The granular purplish area just to the right of the overlapping cell ends shows that part of the structure of the fiber there is hollow. And then this is a comparison with cotton fibers, and it's saying that they're flat and ribbon-like, whereas the flax fibers are rounded or tubular. And then it says there is some twist in the structure of flax fibers also. So this is more of an exact match of what the DNA would look like, more so than the cotton fibers since they're flat. But the flax fibers are rounded or tubular. And then over here it's talking about madder dyed linen. And I want to talk about this word madder a little more later. That's a dye. It's actually, this image right here is an image of madder. But I'm just going to skip down to over here where it's talking about the linen. It says, hopefully we'll have a chance in future to look at cross sections of the plant stalks. And so it's using the word stalks, which is a reed or straw. And so it's interesting that in Matthew 12, right where you have the word helix, and then you have twin over here, it's talking about a bruised reed shall he not break, and a smoking flax shall he not quench. And that's crossing right through the word helix, using the X in the word flax, using the I in bruised reed. Okay, so when the Roman soldiers were mocking Jesus, you see over here they gave him a reed to use as a rod, and they put this robe on him, a purplish robe, and a crown of thorns. And so they were using all of these things to mock Jesus, but they didn't realize that the very things that they were mocking Jesus with is what Jesus is going to use to restore the temple. These are actually representations of microscopic things that are involved in the restoration of the temple. And so I want to talk a little bit more about the colors in Jesus's robe, and some of this imagery. And I'm going to do that in the next video since I don't really have much time left in this video. So I'll just continue in the next video. Thank you.